and it became kind of resilient, which I didn't even understand because logically it made no sense to me. But experiment, figure out what you think is best for you. You've got to learn how to trust your gut. You know, these tools that we're putting into your mind, they're great, but you're gonna have this gut instinct, and just take, if you're that afraid, get a small grow tent and just trust your gut. Learn to develop your gut instinct on this. You know, like you'll start out with your IMO collections, and there's a couple of us I know for sure. We cheat and we peak, you know, right? But there's going to be a point where that gut instinct, it's going to be so dialed in, and you're just going to like, you could be like on the other side of the county, like shit, I got to get my IMOs right now, like right now, and that's what you want to feel when you're doing it. So I'm giving you a basic guideline to work with, but the reality is every single one of you, it's going to be different. Okay? But you didn't really get the idea. Do you have any questions about the delusions? Always ramp up. Good solid 3, 4, 5 year soil. Yeah, you don't have to deal with it as much. But as you get to that point in your 5 year plan, like for this method in cannabis to really work, it's solid 5 years. Any one of you think that it's less than 5 years, you're kidding yourself. You can get your farm 100%, but that soil penetration, which I think is in here somewhere, yeah, the page before. Right?
Start with the soil.
Yeah, we started with the soil, right? So year one, if you look at the same page, it's the page before, you'll see, depending on your environment and how much you put into it, what's the most you could get in the first year of penetration? Like an inch?
Yeah, I mean, so good soil building techniques, you can probably build about half inch to an inch of really, really, really good soil.
Did you hear that? Did everybody hear that? In the first year, if you were really cranking, you could be up to an inch. The likelihood is going to be somewhere in that mid-range, right?
I mean, if you wanna, like mulch the mulch layer and then your soil layer, it becomes hard to tell where your topsoil layer begins and ends, too. The microbes are what facilitate that middle layer, just like we saw out there. That's the same layer that I grabbed to put into that bucket is the same layer we're trying to generate here.
Yes. In our business, what is the most important inches of our soil?
6 inches.
That's right. 6 inches. Okay, so we know we're maximizing up to a half inch. Let's say, we're like new growers. We're like, yeah, we're gonna hit like a pound to 1,000 watts, whatever that was for you. The next year, you're gonna start to double it. The year after that, if you look at the chart, it's like double that double. Would that be pretty?
Oh, well, it's it's showing exponential growth versus linear growth.
Yes. So then when our soil really hits year 3, our first 6 inches are now starting to really do their thing. So if we have stabilized a landrace genetic, I was joking about this, but I'm serious. If you were to just take like a handful of seeds and just throw them in the woods and come back and find those strains at the end of the season which grew, the strong that survived, and you take that and you work that on your farm in your area, year 4 and year 5 of cultivating that strain, you will now have a bulletproof backcross that you can introduce any seed into your area and have the genetics built right, your soil prepped right, your amendment schedule, your solution schedule will be developed. That's year 5. Anything you want to manifest at that point is like this. You'll be like, I want to do 600 pounds, I want to do 6 metric tons, whatever it is, you're going to be able to like get it more dialed in. Getting the owners of your properties to understand the introduction of Cana, do not tell them that it's going to be like a 2-year conversion. It's impossible. You'll fail, and I'll tell you why. When you're setting up your grow, if you take 20% of your grow at a time and convert it and cycle it in, you are still using your bread and butter of what you guys know well, that you can trust. So you think of it as a trust ratio. I can trust my growing techniques of this much now, and as I experiment, as that scale starts to tip, then you'll be able to do that. But managing their expectations is really vital to you. So this way, when you're asking for budgets and they're like, you can basically figure out how your conversion is going to work like that. But by showing them how it takes a 5-year plan, it really sets the precedence in their brain that they no longer have to feel that crunch or think that they have to come up with this extra money that they don't know where it's coming from while market prices are falling, right? So this as a collective culture here using this is going to be really valuable to you. And another part about it is I love what he said. He's like, I do that in the morning. I set it in the morning and then I'll pick it up in the night and then do it then. That is your day. You know, like just like how we walk our gardens first thing in the morning, you know, we can't wait to go see who's doing what. You know, like I don't care how big your farm is. A lot of us who are still farmers, we pretty much touch every plant. Even if it's 10,000 plants, it doesn't matter. It's our walk. It's our freaking land. Those are our plants, man. We're our stewards. So, you know, we go through and just see what's happening. You know, things that would normally bother us in a small grow doesn't bother you in a big grow, you know. You just don't care, you know. But so you're going to know that. But in that mindset, you're also going to be setting like things like, hey, when am I going to do collection for this? When am I going to do collection for that? You know, oh, these are coming into season. I kind of need to like schedule a morning to go grab those. You know, this fish is coming into season. It's kind of nice to grab those. So you're going to start to develop your schedule and your production schedule, you know, based in these terms.
How long does most stuff keep? Or is there any, I guess a question would be, is there anything that doesn't keep long besides like IMO 4 or 3?
IMO 2, you notice how on the label I had an expiration date. All right, we know that IMO 2 is for sure tinctured outside will last 2 years. Inside in a fridge, how long will it last?
As long as you can keep the electricity on for the fridge and the compressor running.
So 2 years unrefrigerated, longer refrigerated.
Depends
Yeah.
on your refrigerator.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know most of these, once you put more sugar in, it's shelf stable for years, right? Does it get better with time, all these FPJs? Or
So-
would you use them within a year or within 2 years? What?
The tips FPJ are more volatile
Right,
than the fruit ones. The fruit ones are gonna get sweeter like a fine wine.
right.
So as my fruit ages, it gets better.
The
But my
autumn.
tips ones, all of a sudden, instead of doing early growth, they're now matured and now they're starting to be like flowering
You
or
wanna use-
fruiting, like just via age.
Make
of
and
them.
use the tip ones fairly quickly, you're saying, and then the other ones you can store longer and like
Exactly.
keep
And
longer.
you're not going to, and that's another thing to keep in mind, is you do not have to overproduce your tip solution. You could just keep it seasonal. Okay? Like, so, but the juicy, you know, our ripening, our flushes, yeah, keep those, hoard those.
Mhm.
You know, your sprout solutions that, like, I was talking last night about like if we're gonna start
Yeah.
to develop genetics in seeds, save your seeds. Do not kill your males. You know, get those genetics going, and then keep a sprouted version of your tip solution to give with those seeds. Okay, so you've got like a whole different cool market, you know, and it doesn't have to be a market. Maybe market's the bad word, but maybe like a trade. You know, it's a barter system. That hey, when I trade genetics with you, here's the FPJ to hook you up with, right? This is valuable for you guys, you know, and then your fruiting versions of like where you've dedicated a certain amount of your production. I do harvest large colas and make, I mean, beautiful plants that would sell like A triple plus, you know, and sometimes I keep that more for my food, for the medicine for my plants, than I do for the actual clients. The medicine for our food is the most important thing to me as a grower. You know, because what I put into it, I'm getting out of it. So yeah, maybe I could have sold those, but I had the opportunity to use those really dang juicy, crystally yumminess into the food, because the next time I do that, my chances of a majority of them looking like that is bigger.
Just dedicate one plant.
Yeah.
One huge monster. Take all that nug and
So that is no longer part of your square foot equation in your production or your yield concept of what you're grossing for your plant. So hopefully that makes and helps. Yeah. Did you have any other questions about this part? What are we doing now?
We got some soap if you're ready.
Oh yes, it's soapy time.
It's getting slippery. Cool. So I think for me, one of the missing links with all natural farming is the IPM, the pesticides, but Jadam brings that, right? And so the soap, I've just found it to be getting more and more into my life all the time. I use it to wash my dishes, my laundry,